Senator Miville-Deschênes. On Saturday, we walked on the streets of Montreal to commemorate the first anniversary of the death of Mahsa Amini at the hands of her torturers in Iran. Parliamentarians of all stripes and Montrealers were united in chanting that we must not forget the brutal repression of the feminist revolution in Iran. The Islamist regime did everything in its power to stifle attempts at commemoration in Iran on Saturday. In fact, there are hardly any demonstrations there anymore, but handfuls of veiled men and courageous women, their hair blowing in the wind, who dance and sing in the streets for a few minutes before going back into hiding. From inside the overflowing prisons come pleas for us, Canada, and other democratic countries to step up the pressure on this iron-fisted regime that shamelessly violates human rights. From Evin prison, Narges Mohammadi, one of Iran's most prominent and courageous activists, sent this message to the Iranian diaspora on the occasion of the screening of her groundbreaking documentary, White Torture, in Montreal. Here's an extract from Narges' appeal. During 44 years of oppressive theocratic rule in Iran, the people used every opportunity to achieve democracy, freedom, and equality. The regime responded with repression, massacre, torture in prison, and executions. The Women Life Freedom movement, led by women, emerged and pushed back on the regime by directly confronting it and undermining its foundations. The streets, filled with unveiled women, signifies open opposition to the regime, thus creating a scene of power for the people. We are determined, she says, to see the revolutionary movement through to the end, and we will continue to do so. For this, we need the firm support of the international community. She calls on Western governments to make human rights a precondition for any negotiations. Failure to do so is a betrayal of the aspirations of the Iranian people. In closing, she says, I sincerely thank you. And it's with a heart full of hope, love, and life that I assure you of my determination to fight for democracy, freedom, and equality. I remain convinced that one day you will hear the voice of our victory all the way from home. End of quote. What can we do concretely to ensure that these people do not lose hope? Canada has announced sanctions against more than 400 individuals and entities linked to human rights violations in Iran. We must now go further to punish these accomplices of the regime, notably by seizing their assets. Minister Mélanie Joly promised the demonstrators on Saturday that she would step up the pressure on the Tehran regime. Let's also use our voice in this chamber to ensure that our Iranian sisters are not